Jeff Bezos, good luck in Miami. Have a little Mai Tai for all of us. This segment is brought to you in partnership with our friends over at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. So Jeff Bezos, he shares on Instagram, and it was a very heartfelt post, and it's so interesting to look at where Amazon began, in his garage, and how he built it over time, and also what he looked like back then. He looks completely different, but he posted on Instagram a old picture of him when he'd first started Amazon.com. And he said, Seattle has been my home since 1994 when I started Amazon out of my garage. That's my dad behind the camera in this video. It's the video he posted on Instagram, touring Amazon's first office. My parents have always been my biggest supporters. They recently moved back to Miami, the place we lived when I was younger. I want to be close to my parents and Lauren, who is his partner, and I love Miami. Also, Blue Origin's operations are increasingly shifting to Cape Canaveral. For all that, I'm planning to return to Miami, leaving the Northwest. I've lived in Seattle longer than I've lived anywhere else and have so many amazing memories here. As exciting as the move is, it's an emotional decision for me. Seattle, you will always have a piece of my heart. And look, if that's why he says he's moving, then maybe that is truly why he's moving, that he has family there. He wants to be close to family. He's not the CEO of Amazon anymore. It gives him a little bit of latitude to be out of the Seattle area, certainly. So I'll take him at his word that that's why he's moving. But certainly it is also a blow to Washington State's capital gains tax, which is, by the way, an income tax. I know that the Washington State Supreme Court has said, no, it's not. Every other state and the IRS say a tax on capital gains is an income tax. But somehow Democrats in Washington state were able to get through what is an illegal tax. They got the state's highest court to uphold it. And they made this from the very beginning about taxing Washington's richest residents. That's who they wanted the public to believe they were focusing, although there's a lot of other people in Washington state who are now being impacted by the tax on capital gains. But that was really what this was about. And now Jeff Bezos leaving is going to dramatically reduce the amount of money that Washington state is going to pull into its coffers from the tax on capital gains. And the Bipartisan Tax Foundation, which is a national foundation that looks at tax policy, et cetera, this is the first thing that they talked about. They said in a post, Jeff Bezos' move undercuts proposed Washington state wealth tax. So the tax foundation said Bezos sold about $15.7 billion worth of Amazon stock between 2020 and 2021, according to news reports. If we assume that Bezos, who other than the symbolic purchase of one share last year, has not purchased any shares of Amazon in decades, he's held on to these shares since the IPO. He saved nearly $1.1 billion in taxes by selling those shares before the new state capital gains tax went into effect. Whether or not it was a motivating factor, relocating to Florida ensures that future sales won't be subject to Washington's new capital gains tax either. And we're talking about potentially billions of dollars that by virtue of him moving to Florida, if he were to continue to sell that level of Amazon stock, billions of dollars potentially that Washington state is not going to collect through its what really is an illegal tax on capital gains. Noel Frame, who is one of the chief Democratic lawmakers, State Senator Noel Frame, who crafted the capital gains tax, she responded to this and acted like, oh, no big deal. We don't really care if Jeff Bezos leaves the state. She said, that revenue estimates from a potential wealth tax in Washington state won't change as they've already accounted for some degree of taxpayer mobility and avoidance behavior. I love how Jeff Bezos, first of all, before I read the rest of this, Jeff Bezos isn't just any regular taxpayer. They've accounted for some degree of taxpayer mobility and avoidance behavior. I mean, we're talking about Jeff Bezos leaving the state. And so you downplaying the significance of that, I think is kind of funny. But she said, we should tax, and she says, no, this is moving forward. This doesn't change anything for us. We should tax wealth and reinvest those dollars in amenities that attract early stage entrepreneurs to our state so they lay down roots here and raise their families and build their wealth. That's what the data tells us. And that's exactly what Bezos did with Amazon. Precisely. That doesn't make any sense to me because that is exactly what Jeff Bezos did with Amazon. He built that company from nothing. And what did you do when that company became a resounding success? You vilified him. You carved out taxes that really were specifically to punish him for the success of his company. And now you're saying that the money that you get from people or would have got from people like Jeff Bezos, that you should tax that wealth and reinvest the dollars in amenities that attract early stage entrepreneurs. Why would you think that that would attract early stage entrepreneurs? Why would you think vilifying someone like Jeff Bezos, vilifying someone like Amazon, finding carve-outs around the Constitution to tax their wealth would, in any world, attract entrepreneurs to Washington State? That way of thinking doesn't make any sense to me. And to me, and again, I'll take Jeff Bezos at his word that he just likes Miami better and that's where his family is, etc. But if he moved to avoid the taxes, is that a really surprise to anyone? And Democrats were warned about this when they were pushing the tax on capital gains. Like, these people are going to just move out of state. And they said, well, no, you're not going to move out of state due to tax policy. But of course that happens. Look at it on a smaller scale. Look what happened with Amazon in Seattle. When the Seattle City Council passed its tax on high-paying jobs in the summer of 2020, which was really intended to be a tax on Amazon, what did Amazon do? Amazon started to move jobs, high-paying jobs, to Bellevue. That's the same principle. Amazon was targeted out for a tax, and they realized that, hey, we can move those jobs, we can open those high-paying jobs 15 miles away, right across Lake Washington, and we don't have to pay a tax on high-paying jobs that the city council has carved out to punish us for our success, to punish us for the high-paying jobs that we bring to the city that supports an entire ecosystem of good-paying working-class jobs. And so, the idea that you have state lawmakers that continue to believe that they can single out industries, they can single out people for taxation, and those individuals are just going to sit down and take it, that's not realistic. That's not how the world works. So Jeff Bezos, I do hope that you enjoy Miami. I am very partial to Miami as well, as you know. Maybe we can get Jeff Bezos on for one of our editions of Florida Report from Miami. I'm sure you'll enjoy the sun. But I also think the appropriate response to Jeff Bezos leaving is twofold. I think it is to really be grateful and in awe of what he built here and what he did economically for the state of Washington. Is Amazon and has Amazon's presence here created challenges when it comes to cost of living, et cetera? Yes. But overall, to look at what this man did from his garage and what he built Amazon into is absolutely worthy of celebration. Not vilification, not demonization, not criticism. And so I think that absolutely should be something we're discussing when it comes to him after all these years moving to Miami. But also a conversation we have to have is, do you as a state want to continue to push tax policy that punishes people for success? Is that the state we want to be? And is that the kind of politics and the kind of policy that is going to lead to long-term success here? I tend to think no. And also, you hear Democrats in our state talk so much about our backward tax system, how the rich are paying way less as a percentage of their income than the poor, and I agree with that. I do agree with that. But look at the ways that Democrats try to, quote unquote, fix that, right? When you look at the carbon tax, which really is a gas tax, that has now amounted to about 50 cents per gallon, that is a tax that hurts the working class more. And so they want to complain about the backward tax structure, but they continue to push policies that are resulting in a larger burden on the poor and on the working class. So that's just blatantly disingenuous. All right, Jeff Bezos, good luck in Miami. Have a little Mai Tai for all of us. All right, that segment was brought to you in partnership with our friends over at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org.